So, I'm making a game, a FNAF fan game. There's a plenty of other FNAF fan games out there, so what makes my one special? Nothing, really. Except I'm in it! The main idea of the game is essentially the player wants to interview Dawngrass 1, only for the interview to go horribly wrong and you have to survive before the police arrives and rescue you. I wanted to add a secondary antagonist, and I thought long and hard about what the secondary antagonist should be. Should it be me? As in the real life version of me? I mean, that would be kind of hard to model and implement. How about the Among Us imposter? Now that'd be kind of sus. No, I'll get sued. Oh! I thought back to a game that I made 3 years ago, and it was perfect. The sliding cube! Like, oh yeah, sliding cube. But this time, it can walk. So, walking cube? Anyway, I started working on a test version of the game, or I guess of the map in Blender, and I tried to model the Dawngrass 1 character as well as the cube, and I imported both of these into Unity. I wanted to take advantage of the fact that the game is actually in a 3D space, so I added a vent directly overhead, a resource generator behind you as well as the clock, and a security monitor in front of the player. So that way it kind of forces the player to turn around more. I guess, I don't know, just like a bit more immersive maybe. I then got to work on the camera system. So first, I created a security camera prefab and I attached some post-processing and a script to it. I created a camera manager game object and attached the script to that too. That basically just controls the security camera switching. I then made important objects interactable by essentially casting a ray cast from the player camera, and it checks if the tag of the object is of the tag interactable, and if it is, then it checks the name of those objects. If the name is, for example, security monitor, then it will call a function which activates the security camera for the player. And you can see, when you hover over an interactable object, the game object turns yellow. Now, you'll kind of notice that there is no UI for the security camera feed whatsoever, and that's because I haven't added it yet. So here it is. Pretty cool, huh?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for
Code Review
for Unity developer.
I really didn't want to create a unique method for each of the buttons in the security monitor because they all perform the same function. They essentially just disable all the other cameras and enable only the one that is being pressed. That's why I opted to use get components in children and just got each of the buttons from a game object that I parented those buttons to, converted the list into an array, and added a listener to each button with an anonymous function that calls the switch cam function. Note that I've used an enum to represent each camera, and that's how I'm able to do that without using 10 different methods
for all of the different camera buttons.
For some odd reason, I couldn't actually use a for loop to assign the listeners to those buttons. I have no idea why. I still don't know why. For some reason, it just calls an out-of-bound enum value. For if anyone knows why, just tell me. That would be really nice, but yeah, I just couldn't figure it out. Now it's time to add the doors and cringe. What is cringe, you may ask? Well, obviously, the answer is me! Just kidding! Cringe will be the resource that powers the deterrence, or I guess barriers, between you, the player, and the enemies, Dawngrass 1 and the cube. The idea is that the in-game enemies are essentially just scared of cringe. I don't know. It's just, I guess they're just driven away from cringe. To balance this mechanic, I thought of a few ways the player could generate this cringe, as well as how this cringe would be used up. One idea that I had was typing in a specific phrase in every few intervals. It would generate a certain amount of cringe, and you would have to balance this nicely. Now, some examples of these cringy phrases would be Elsa Spider-Man, Poopy, Kinder Egg Deluxe, I don't know, or Dawngrass 1. Instead, I just stuck to a more basic mechanic of just holding down on the button and a meter would be charged up. It would deplete over time. You would have to keep charging it up and be careful of how much you use when you shut off the door or you shut off a vent or something like that. To make a simple screen that will display this cringe generated UI, I created the camera, the UI, set it to the camera space I believe, wrote some code to control this UI, assigned a render texture to the camera output, and assign this render texture to a material of a plane. And bam! You've got a computer screen. The simple cylinder was used as a button, and... Wait, what? The moment I pressed on the button, the game freezes and just crashes. It's just gone, including my Unity editor. And I was honestly like, you know. After 2 days of insanity, reading the editor log files, frantically frantically searching the internet for any solution possible, I found the solution, and it was so... I've used Coroutines to deal with the depletion and generation of Cringe. Coroutines essentially allow you to run code in parallel, and one thing you need to know is that in Unity, any infinite loops will cause a crash, whether it be from functions calling another function, and that function calling the first function over and over again, or in the case of coroutines, not having a yield return statement where the code is running.
Unity utilizes Coroutine's special yield return function in order to perform a certain task after a specific condition is met, whether it be time passed, or a boolean turning true, or something like that.
However, looking at my depleting cringe coroutine, you might be able to see the problem. You see it? There are only yield statements when the door is closed or when I am not generating cringe. So when I pressed on the button and when the door was open, since there's no yield return statement in that situation, that led to the infinite loop that caused the editor to crash for 2 days because I didn't look carefully enough. I need help. Anyhow, now it's time to make the AI of the enemies. I'm starting with the walking cube, vibing cube. Some basic animations, such as the idle animations, a jump, crawl, some transforms in the scene to move the cube around, and bam! The cube is able to jump up and crawl through the ventilation system. Sealing the vent with the obstacle from the game that I made a few years ago will send it back to the start, while not sealing it will...
Yo.
I am facing this bug where for some reason after the animation of me crawling down under the desk, the old player camera transform.rotation kind of remains the same even after the animation takes place. I'm not sure if that seriously means the player just goes back to the original rotation, even when I've set it in code to go to the new rotation. So I have no idea what's happening, but I guess other than that, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys... Oh my god, I was gonna say the same thing twice.
If you want to check out more content like this, be sure to subscribe to Paragon Studios, a channel where my friends and I upload devlogs on our games. My name is DonCrass1, and
subscribe, leave a like, see ya!